I'm getting tired of Russell Wilson lobbying for more power with the Seahawks. I get it. You're the quarterback. You didn't like the way that things ended last season. But part of that is on you, just like part of it is on the predictable plays that took place, the running game that all of a sudden stopped being as effective. But look, Russ was throwing the football a lot last season, especially down the stretch. I mean, they were throwing it at a rate of almost 2-1 during the last half of the season. And I just wonder what he meant by a couple of things that he said along the way there. We didn't go for it as much. I mean, I think they sure as hell went for it. They were throwing it deep against cover 2 and throwing it the majority of games. That is going for it. You know what? I know that they're playing this defense that means that it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to throw it down the field. Whatever. We're going to throw it down the field anyway. They did it against the Giants. They did it against the Rams. They did it too much. And ultimately, it ended up costing them in their playoff loss to the Los Angeles Rams. So, we didn't go for it as much. I'm having a hard time buying that. Second, I think we got a little bit passive. Well, what does that mean? That you were told to be risk averse? Because guess what? You're a quarterback, and you should do that. And by the way, the majority of your career, you've always been risk averse. Not the majority. All of your career, you have been risk averse until all of a sudden the second half of the season where you start throwing interceptions. And to piggyback off of that, Russ is not that risk averse when he's getting sacked 45 times a season. And that is a number that he can trim if Patrick Mahomes can trim it. I get it. You extend plays. I'm not going to accept that as an answer anymore. He can trim that number. Doesn't need to be 45. Come on. I mean, that's too many per game. Over 2, if we're doing our mathematics correctly. So I heard this from Russ, and I just thought to myself, Russ, you don't need to keep lobbying for this anymore, do you? I mean, they fired the offensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer. Maybe you're a little bit upset that it's somebody that you're close with, that you actually had some success with, that is now out the building. But I don't get what is to be gained by sharing your frustrations with Colin Cowherd again. I don't get it. And by the way, I say again because remember last week when we heard on The Herd, Colin Cowherd talking about 2 Seahawk players that were frustrated with the way that the offense was going? I think it stands to reason that Russ was one of those 2. It's fair to be frustrated, but again, we've moved on past the last offensive coordinator. You seem to be happy about the new offensive coordinator in Shane Waldron. This, to me, feels unnecessary, and that's why I'm a bit tired of it. It's not like he's shirking responsibility for this. I mean, he said he could have played better. He said that they played better defenses. The offensive line got beat up. But he keeps pushing out this narrative that things were conservative, and now he's doing it directly. And I guess I'm missing something here. Text in. Player hating on Russell? What? Another texter. Why do you hate Russell Wilson, Paul? I think that texter is being sarcastic because he texts in sarcastic things very often. I don't hate Russell. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the game, and I really enjoy watching him. But I also feel like there has been such a groundswell of support for him over the head coach. And I think if we're looking at this objectively, the blame for the end of this season goes all around. Russ threw too many interceptions. Russ got sacked too many times. He's got to be better at both. I think he can be better at both. This isn't me saying, oh, he's the worst. He's never going to win a Super Bowl again. No, I'm not saying that. But let's look at this objectively for a change. He is the starting quarterback of this team, and this team has been getting stifled in the playoffs in the first round for most of the last couple of years. And congratulations on beating the Eagles and Lions, I guess, but and winning on a missed Blair Walsh field goal from like 5 yards away. But That hasn't been cutting it. Just Russ by himself. And they've opened things up more for Russ. I don't think they're going to stop opening things up more for Russ. Maybe he doesn't have as much control at the line of scrimmage. I would want to give him a little bit more, but with the way that he was playing in the middle of the year, which I thought at times was a bit careless, I don't blame them for bringing him back in. What has he done down the second half of the season to earn more control back? You got to play well, too. You got to show Pete that he's wrong if you want it back. So it's lobbying that I feel like at this point, too, just doesn't need to happen. You made the shift at offensive coordinator. This should be an acknowledgement that the offense didn't work last year. And even if Pete is saying we're going to hammer the rock, we're going to run the football more, that's going to help you out. It's not as if handing the football off is a detriment to this team. They just have to do it in a better way. Text, do you ever have something positive to say about Russ ever? My goodness, people. I was calling the guy divine and the future MVP in the first half of the season. That was my prediction going into the year. But, I mean, an 8-game sample size. You're not questioning it? You just think it's a given? That all of this 8-game stretch was just a 8-game hiccup? It's 8 games. I mean, if it was 3 games, fine. 8 games? Text in 710-710 on the Vizzy Hard Seltzer text line. Every quarterback wants more control of the offense, but somehow it's not okay for Russ. Pete flat out neutered Russ midseason. This is what I need the answer to. Because everyone's saying that. How did he neuter him? They threw it more than they ran. Like, this is simple. He told him, don't throw interceptions. That's also simple. What am I missing? Really, I don't get it. Oh, they're so conservative. Were they? Again, they're throwing it twice as much as they run. That is the exact opposite of what Pete Carroll wants to do. And guess what? They're not going to go back to the Stone Age next season. They're not going to do that. But they're going to be better, I think, offensively because they're going to have a better offensive coordinator.